In this lesson, we'll learn how we can adjust the overall depth of field for our concept. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so in the previous lesson, we explored how we could drop our forest creature into a scene by using a photograph. And to keep that background of that photograph from competing visually with our forest creature, we use a smart filter set to Gaussian blur to kind of push it back a little bit, in addition to adjusting the curves as well. So now the background is more of a complement rather than a competitor with our main focal point, which is our forest creature. Now, looking at this entire composition, our eyes still kind of have the need to wander all around, and that's because our forest creature is very much in focus over its entire form. Okay, so the entire form of our forest creature is very crisp and clear and in focus, and so our eyes just kind of go all over the place in regards to just the form. So what we'd like to do is narrow the initial focus to just the head area, and from there the eyes should really be allowed to wander throughout the rest of the composition, absorbing the rest of the concept's form as well as the environment in which it's in. So to do this, we're going to focus on kind of blurring out these little areas over here where we have kind of these interesting bark forms that we've established sticking out of his shoulders. These almost lead us out of the composition, so we don't want to do that initially. So let's explore how we can do this. So we're going to come over here to our layers panel and duplicate our final details layer, which contains the final rendition of our concept. So just going right-clicking and going to duplicate layer. All right. And what we're going to do now is set this as a smart object. So right-clicking again on our duplicated layer, we're going to go to convert to smart object. Okay, and again we can tell that's a smart object by that little bitty symbol added to the thumbnail of that layer. All right, so now let's come up here to filter, and we're going to come down to blur, and we're going to go to Gaussian blur. Okay, so what this does is it blurs our image big time. And so I'm just going to take it down just a little bit, probably around 15 or 16 or so. Okay? And here we have our smart filter enabled and the mask associated with that filter. Let's click on that mask. And now we're going to come over here to our paint bucket over here in our tool panel. And let's go ahead and fill that mask with black. Okay, so that basically brings us back to what our concept originally looked like for our forest creature. Okay, so we're going to remain on this thumbnail for the smart filters mask. And we're going to grab our brush tool from our tool panel. Let's go ahead and right-click, and we're going to grab a soft round brush from our brush preset picker. We'll size it up considerably. So right about there, maybe just a little bit smaller. Okay, and now we're going to switch to white. And before we begin painting, I want to go to my brush panel and turn on transfer. Again, being able to control opacity and flow using the pressure applied with our Wacom stylus. Okay, so we're going to be painting white over this mask, basically revealing that Gaussian blur that we added as a smart filter. So there we go. We're starting to kind of blur out just those edges slightly. And of course, if we go too far with it, if it's too blurred, we can either rein in our mask by painting back in some black, or if we feel the need to, we can come in and readjust the blur by just double-clicking on Gaussian blur, bringing back up the actual dialog box for our smart filter. So just kind of blurring out those edges now, I feel like my eyes come to the head first. It focuses on the head of our forest creature first, and then we're able to kind of wander around the rest of the form and then ultimately absorb the environment in which he exists in. All right, so that is our final lesson for this course, and I hope you've enjoyed it and are able to take elements of it in creating your own concept pieces by basically using textures and weaving them together to really add a lot more depth, dimension, and character to your own character concepts. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.